All right, so our tip of the day is 5 money mistakes that people make, Steve. And so what's the first one, do you think?
First one, credit cards. How about that?
Yes. Yep. So carrying a balance on those credit cards, right? Do you know that there are 860 billion credit card balances out there right now?
That's why the banks are the biggest buildings in town.
That's right. That's right. And people, the mistake that they make about that is that they don't understand how expensive that is to keep a revolving balance on there. So let's think of it this way, just to put it in perspective. If I had $1,000 that was left on my credit card for the next month and I didn't pay it off, that would add up to $138 per year on my credit score or my credit balance. And I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but it sure adds up, don't you think?
Yep.
Yep.
Compound effect.
Absolutely. So one of the things that we can do to keep that credit card balance is to, some solutions. You can do a transfer balance of 0%, right? You can do that. Or you could do a personal loan, take it out, consolidate that debt, get rid of their debt, because what most credit cards, Steve, has what kind of interest rate on there?
Oh,
The average is
15 or more.
15 to more. Some are 23.
The banks are giving us 0 point whatever percent, less than 1% rate on our money, but yet they're charging us 15%.
Yep, on that bank card.
To borrow our own money. So don't find ways to stay out of credit card. And the next one is not saving for retirement. That's number 2.
Huge mistake, not saving for retirement. Most people think, I'll do that later, like when I have money. Or I'll do that later when I get that pay raise, right?
And one of the major things, too, is that especially if you're working for a company that offers matching, you should always put enough to get the matching, because free money is good. Mm-hmm. And people don't really utilize sometimes their what the company's offering them. So just be aware that you can actually get additional money. Mm-hmm. And pay yourself first.
Pay yourself first.
And
do you know that if you don't start saving now for retirement, it's going to be twice as much that later to put in, right? So solutions. Some of the solutions are, hey, look at your company. Again, like what Steve said, do they have a 401 match? If not, you know what? Seek out a financial coach. Maybe they'll tell you a little bit about what a Roth IRA is or an IRA, and put something in plans for you together. All right. So here's the big question. So how much do we put in to our plan?
What is?
So let's think. If I was 25 years old and I started saving for retirement at age 65, and I made $75,000 a year, the rule is about 20%, right?
That's 1/5 of your salary, and $15,000 a year
that you'd have to put away, right? And so $15,000 to replace 85% of your income. So that comes to about $1,200 a month that you'd have to start putting away.
And you may not be able to do it at this point, but it's good to know that number so you can actually shoot towards it and have a goal. Because that's the main thing about retirement funds. People do not think about retirement. They think down the road, when I start making more money, it's going to, but what that also inevitably happens, that you are not in the habit of spending or paying yourself first.
Correct.
So that's the key. So if you start saving younger, you develop the habit. But if you find yourself, hey, I haven't saved, it's what do they say, the adage, the best time to plant a tree is 10 years ago. But do it now if you haven't done it.
Start it now. Another mistake people have, Steve, is living without an emergency fund.
Yes.
Right? Living without an emergency fund. And this is for like something that's unexpected, like something happens to the car, or maybe loss of job, or it never ends. Like as soon as I start putting up that emergency fund, the washer goes out, the dishwasher goes out, something, right? And so we're always apt to go for that free credit card at that store, 0 down and, pay it off in a year, or else you get all that interest that accumulated for that whole year if you miss
Boom.
one day,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Crazy, crazy. So, putting stuff away for emergency fund. The average person they did a study, and this was something. If there was a $400 repair, they said something like consumers can pay $400 cash or credit by the end of the month. Yay. But they said 27% of the population would not be able to pay
That's
$400.
Yeah, that's
They'd have to
amazing.
borrow or sell something. And 12% would not be able to cover it at all.
A lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck.
Yep.
And so that's always make sure you have we like to, the solution, 2% of your paychecks a month, and we'll start adding up. So it sounds like a small percentage, but just start putting some aside, a little bit every month.
Absolutely.
Set aside some for your retirement, set aside something from your emergency fund. We actually advocate having 3 funds: an emergency fund, a savings fund to have for a goal like a car or a house, and then the long-term set it and forget it retirement fund. Just get in the habit of saving money, and that's our. And then the next one is accepting average savings account yields.
Oh, yeah. This is a huge one, right? So, Steve, what's the interest rate in your bank right now?
It's less than 0.5%.
Yep, exactly. The average right now is 0.09%. So let's think of it this way. If I had $5,000 in the bank in savings or checking right now and I got 0.09, I would get $4.50 for the whole year for interest. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
Yep. So here's one of the solutions, right? So I mean, we're always going to give you the negative, and then we'll try to give you a solution about it, right?
Yeah.
So there are actually some online accounts, bank accounts, that are actually giving 2%.
Yeah, look for them. They are out there, and there's a lot of ads. So just be careful, but don't accept what your bank is, and look that it makes sense. So it'll bring money. It'll be, and when you think about 2%, doesn't sound like much, but it's actually 100% better than what you're currently earning. So
Yeah. So that same $5,000 at a 2% interest, I would at least have $116 by the end of the year. So I can either have $4 where I currently are now, or I can have 116 at the end of the year for interest.
100% return. So
You know?
that's what you have to.
The only thing about online only banks is that you really have to just read the fine print, make sure that you do your due diligence. There are some rules apply. There are some things where like you have to have a certain amount of money in there as well.
Yep.
Right.
Usually a minimum requirement.
Right. And your last one. This is huge for.
Not taking charge of your student loans.
Yep. This is pretty hard because a lot of people on this topic, there's like $1.6 trillion
that's crazy.
in student loan debt right now. It's pretty hefty.
That's why the colleges are like hedge funds. They're all about generating money for themselves. So I just have to make people aware. College is necessary, but is it required to go deep in debt?
Yeah. I mean, there's some hefty student loans out there and payments. And so sometimes major milestones get in the way, right? Like, I'd rather save for a house than pay for my college loan. I'll just keep deferring it, defer it, defer it. Well, eventually that deferring stops. And then your payment, which probably wasn't so high in the beginning when you could have started paying it off, now is, now it's a lot heavier, and the interest has just kept on occurring, right? So the solution is, well, one, you can get an income-based repay loan.
Yep. There are
The
programs out there, and we've known a few people who have reduced their student loan debt through that.
Yep, yep. You can refinance at a different rate. If you feel that your student loan is pretty high, you can reduce that. And then there are some forgiveness programs out there. Just make sure you seek them out and make sure that those are different ways of getting through that.
Student loans are not absolved through bankruptcy or that. They stick with you.
Yep, yep.
So just the government will get its money back. So
One way or another.
one way or
right?
another. Anyway, so we'll just
So those are your 5 tips for today on 5 mistakes about money.
5, the carrying a balance on credit cards. Number 1, not saving for retirement. Number 2, and living without an emergency fund. Number 3, accepting average savings account yields. Number 4, and not taking charge of student loans. So if you have any questions, please reach out to us. We are more than willing to sit down with you and help you along those lines. Thank you so much.
Yep, great.